25 people on the stream.
65.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Okay.
And so this is a PIO from CalFire, David Shue. He's going to be answering a lot of the questions here. I'm going to hand Sir Stephen Weeks, and we're going to do this interview. First, we're going to do these questions that we've got, and then if you guys have questions on the stream, feel free to ask them, and we'll try to get them answered.
Less pavement, more building.
How wide are you for him?
I'm going to be pretty wide because they want two shots usually.
So, yeah, no. Don't do two shots.
No two shot?
ISO.
Okay. You guys ready? All right.
Yes.
Start with your name and how to spell it.
David, D-A-V-I-D, Shue, S-H-E-W.
Now, David, first off,
I'm good.
you're from this area, right?
I live in Napa.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Well, not
Okay.
here locally. We've had similar fires that have been very devastating, mostly in Southern California during the sieges of 2003 and 2007, but it's not very normal to see these kinds of fire activities in Northern California.
How explosive was the growth of this fire?
We are estimating right now that we saw the fire growing at somewhere around 3,000, 3,500 acres an hour. From the time it started through last night.
3,500 acres an hour.
Per hour, yes.
Is there any way that firefighters can physically get around something like that?
It's pretty difficult. When it's moving that fast, we had extreme high winds yesterday that were pushing the fire. Of course, you've got hot embers that are being generated from the fire, and because of the drought conditions that we're suffering from out here, every one of those embers hits the dry fuel, the grass, the brush, and every one of them ignites into a new fire. So we had new fire ignitions starting consistently approximately a quarter to a half a mile in front of the main fire's front itself.
And once the fire came into town, came into Middletown and Cobb, what ended up happening? Were people trapped? I mean, what did you guys have to deal with?
We're not aware of any people that are physically trapped. However, we did receive lots of calls about people needing help getting out, and gates were being locked, or people just needed help getting out. Elderly personnel, the persons who we needed to help out. So our job at that point really becomes assisting with making sure everybody gets out safely.
Before structure protection?
Yes. Actually, life safety is always going to be a primary priority for us. So we're going to go ahead and work on those efforts. Of course, we've got a lot of law enforcement personnel here helping with that. But it really is a matter of making sure everyone gets out first, and then start doing everything we can to save whatever structures we can.
A lot of people that have been watching, they want to know the specific areas where you've seen heavy damage. Obviously, it's going to be a while before you total everything up. But
right.
What are the areas that have been most heavily impacted?
The areas, they're very rural areas here in southern Lake County. So up on Cobb Mountain, the community of Cobb is very heavily damaged. Some of the surrounding areas back in the Whispering Pines, some of those areas. Then of course it came down into the town of Middletown, another subdivision, a fairly large subdivision just to the east of here called Hidden Valley Lakes was hit fairly hard. And then the fire has continued down towards the Napa County line, crossed into Napa, areas called Pope Valley, Etna Springs, moving on into the bottom of the hillsides that separate the Napa Valley from Pope Valley. A lot of vineyards in all of those areas. So the fire is down there at this point, and we're doing everything we can to get people out of harm's way there.
A threat to the billion-dollar Napa wine industry.
Yeah, is this a threat to the billion-dollar Napa wine industry?
I don't know that it's a big threat. I mean, of course, a lot of the harvesting is going on right now, and so it depends on where the vineyards are. A lot of the grapes have already been picked. There's still a lot more to pick out there. So time will tell, but the fire is not impacting the main Napa Valley itself. It's impacting what we call Pope Valley, which is another valley of vineyards to the east of the Napa Valley. And there's a very tall ridge separating the Napa Valley from Pope Valley, so the fire has not come anywhere close to encroaching into the main Napa Valley area itself.
Now, some people are asking specifically about certain landmarks. First off, how are the schools doing in town here in Middletown?
There is a private school that unfortunately was burned. However, the public schools, the elementary school and the high school here in Middletown are fine. We've also checked, and there's an elementary school up in Cobb, and it survived also. So the schools largely seem to be okay.
And the hot springs, everybody keeps asking about the hot springs. Are they still intact?
Hot springs do not appear to be. It seems that the fire, it was in the main front of the fire, and it seems that it was hit pretty hard.
Now, is there any just a ballpark on damage that we're talking about here?
It's
the hundreds? Are we in the...
It's really too hard to say right now. I have a deep fear that it's going to be a very large number, but it's going to take some time for us to really get through this area. I mean, at this point, literally, it just started yesterday afternoon. We're not even 24 hours into the fire yet, and we're already at least at 40,000 acres. So it's going to take us some time to really go through that much area and really do a thorough check, even a windshield check to count how devastating this is.
One of the things that a lot of people have been talking about is that this place, Middletown, Cobb, they're no different than so many other places.
That's right.
In California.
That's right.
And this could basically happen anywhere.
That's very true. California overall is a fire environment. I mean, fire has been a natural part of the landscape here for many hundreds of thousands, millions of years. And a lot of the landscape itself is really has evolved and dependent upon fire for reproduction, the giant sequoias, those kinds of things. But it's healthier for those areas when we have lower intensity fires instead of these heavy wind-driven events like this. So these tend to be very devastating. Of course, today there's millions of people living in the state, and so when you do get these kinds of events going, you simply have to try to get people out of harm's way and do the best you can to save as many structures as possible.
Last question for me. You're a firefighter, so in a situation like this, what's it like trying to save a structure and then knowing that it's going to be lost and falling down?
That's probably one of the most difficult parts of this job, is that we're trained, we feel very confident that we're very good at saving people's lives and saving structures and all of those kinds of things. And when we have events like this occur, and you see homes and buildings that are igniting on fire, and you're powerless to try to save them all, it's a very hard thing to feel. It's very emotional for the firefighting crews out here. Everybody wishes they could do more. You kind of leave these kinds of events feeling like a little bit like maybe you didn't do as good of a job as you'd like to have. We all know we're doing the best we can, but these are unusual events. Most of the time, we're very successful at saving lots of structures, and that's kind of the feel-good success stories that is the norm. These are abnormal situations, and so it doesn't seem to me that no matter how many times you go through these things, it never gets any easier.
Survivor's guilt, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, everything was burning when we came in last night, and it literally, there was fire everywhere, and it just seemed out of control. I mean, it was an overwhelming scenario.
You're exactly right. It is out of control. It is overwhelming. You don't have enough resources to attack it on every front. We have different priorities that we have to take. Number one, like I said, getting people out of harm's way. Number two, looking at the structures and prioritizing which ones you can successfully save. But unfortunately, that means that others you're going to be unsuccessful in saving them all. So it is a very difficult choice to be able to look at everything you can, and we just we all try to do the best we can, saving as many structures as we can. And then, of course, kind of the big picture is that we've got this massive footprint of a fire on the landscape at this point, and at some point in time, we have to put an edge on it. It's not over. We haven't done what we call perimeter control yet. We're still focusing so hard on the structure and defending structures and making sure people are safe that we really haven't gotten very far into the perimeter control yet. And it won't be until we do a perimeter control until we finally start getting our hands on this, and that's going to take a little time.
Where's the head of the fire now, and is it still progressing at the same rate?
I don't know if it has. As you know, partly we have seen the winds die down here over the last few hours. Now they're beginning to start picking up a little bit now, as they normally would. We'll expect these winds to pick up throughout the day, and they'll become very heavy this afternoon, which is normal for this time of year and this time of day here. But the winds did calm down a little bit this morning, which gave people a little chance to start doing some mop up, some control on some things. And we're just doing the best we can to try to get a big picture right now. This thing moves so fast, and we were doing everything we could, and it got dark, of course. And so now during the daylight hours, and it's pretty weird to say it's daylight here with the overcast. I mean, most of this is, of course, just smoke. You can smell it in the air and all. And so it's very difficult to try to wade your way through all of this right now.
And lastly, the areas, once again, just to run through for people that may live here, what are the areas that are still safe, and what are the areas that are not? Well, at this point in time, when we have a fire of this magnitude and of this size and this erratic behavior, we've seen the fire move off into different directions based upon where the wind wants to push it, and a lot of that is driven by topography. Excuse me. The directions of canyons will move winds in a different direction than they would be up in a more flat space. So it's very dependent upon the topography and things, and so quite literally, we're not going to be allowing people to come back into these areas, certainly today. Okay. I would imagine that it will be maybe a few days before we're able to safely allow people to start coming back in and observing what's here. Got it. Perfect. Thank you so very much, Mr.
You're welcome.
Shoup. Thank you.
You bet.
Thanks again. We hope we've answered a lot of your guys' questions. For some reason, the stream stopped. So right now there's 1.2 thousand people watching, 1.2K. So if you guys have more questions, send them to me on Twitter, and we'll see if we can get them answered.